Tonight on Movie Geeks United, join your hosts, Jamie, Chris, and Jerry, as they discuss 28 Weeks Later, Waitress, Away From Her, and all the latest theatrical and DVD releases. Exclusive late-breaking movie news, the second part of their Summer Movie Madness series, and their flick picks of the week. Pick up the phone and get your geek on. The number to call is 718-508-9477. Once again, that number is 718-508-9477. And now, here are your favorite cinematic fanatics, Jamie, Chris, and Jerry.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Thanks for joining us this Sunday evening for another episode of Movie Geeks United. My name is Jamie, and Jerry and Chris are right here with me. How you doing, guys?
We're doing good. Happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Yes.
Yo, boys. What's up?
If anybody wants to call in, we're going to be talking about a lot of exciting things tonight. The number to call is 718-508-9477. If you are too shy to speak on the radio and talk to the geeks in person, then you can always email us at moviegeeksunited@yahoo.com or on our MySpace page, myspace.com/moviegeeksunited. We've got all those windows up, so just correspond with us however you'd like, and we'll get your message loud and clear. This weekend, second weekend, Spider-Man 2, number 1. No big surprise there, but number 2 film was 28 Weeks Later. And actually, out of the three of us, Jerry is the one that checked that one out this weekend. What'd you think of that one, Jerry?
I thought it was much better than I thought it could ever be. I didn't really expect, once I heard that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland weren't associated with it, I didn't really have any high hopes for this. But then a couple months ago, I saw the trailer.
Right.
And the trailer is one of the best trailers I've seen. The only other trailer I've seen that really gave me any sort of emotional reaction was Children of Men last year. And this one, the trailer was just so incredible, just so great. I was like, well, this really actually looks pretty good. And going to see it on Friday, the movie works on every level. It works as a horror film, and as a horror film, it is generally scary. The first 10 minutes of the film, once you have the setup and everything, I have to say, you know what's coming, but there's a sense of dread throughout the whole film. But
That's what I heard about it. I heard that opening 10 minutes is pretty amazing. You're off and running.
You're off and running, and it also does something that not even the George Romero films, zombie films, did. And I guess forgive me, it's been 4 years since the first film, 28 Days Later. I don't remember it as well as I should, but the film does something that is quite amazing. It generally scares you, and it scares you because the rate which I guess the virus works when you become a zombie, your humanity evaporates within seconds. It's actually quite frightening to watch the transformation from human to zombie. I mean, it's really just sends chills down your spine, and it's a thing that's working throughout the whole movie. But the film also works on it. It has this political subtext that is incredible that I never even thought. Right. And it is a stinging indictment against the American military occupation of Iraq. I mean, you can't escape that throughout the film. That's what's going on, and it just works on so many levels. It's really well done. I couldn't recommend it more.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Can I just ask you guys a question? My phone just went buggy on me, lots of static and stuff. Did anybody catch that at all?
No, I didn't.
All here on this side.
So basically, I missed everything that you just said, Jerry. But I'm sure that it was you were very well spoken.
Well, thank you.
There are 2 other movies that we saw together. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say, though, if people are interested, there's really something interesting on some of our friends' websites. Fatally Yours and HorrorYearbook.com had a critic swap. So Fatally Yours wrote a review of 28 Weeks Later on HorrorYearbook.com, and Royce Clemens from Horror Yearbook wrote a review on FatallyYours.com, and people should go check out their reviews. They're wonderful.
Absolutely, they do great stuff.
Yeah.
That's almost like what NBC tries to do with the sitcoms. They try to put actors in different shows.
True. I never thought of it like that, but you're right.
Exactly. That's an awesome idea. We also saw Waitress and Away From Her. Both of us have seen that film, Jerry and myself.
Right.
And I haven't been able to stop raving about both of these films since I saw them at the festival last month. But Waitress is a very, very nice, endearing just generous movie. And I know that they played it nationwide on Mother's Day today.
Right.
Theaters across the country. It's still in kind of limited release, but a perfect movie to take your mother to, and just a really sweet-natured movie. What did you think of it?
I thought it was perfect. I had no complaint about the movie. And what I liked about it, and what we talked about the other night, is it's not at all what I thought from the trailer. It was just really unfolded in a very nice, it's a very gentle film. And, you know, it's a bittersweet movie, though, because as I think some people know that the director and one of the actresses in the movie, Adrienne Shelley, was murdered early this year. And she finally had this great success, and unfortunately she can't revel in it, and it's very sad. But she's made, this is probably one of the finest directorial debuts from an actor I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah. And it has so many colors to it. It's funny, it's romantic, it plays very realistically. It never falls over into kind of comedic camp. You know, you're with these characters all the way, and you feel for them. She was actually 8 months pregnant when she wrote this film, Marion Shelley, and you can tell it's about how that child, that new life that she brought into the world, changed her life and perspective on things. And it's very, you know, the child is 4 years old now, and you know, thank God that she always has this movie to look to if she wants a sense of who her mother is.
Right.
Yeah, it's very good movie. Away From Her is another great one. Sarah Polley's directorial debut, and it's a little more serious and somber of subject matter. It's about how Alzheimer's kind of how it plays on a 45-year marriage, and kind of brings new challenges to that relationship. But it's a very challenging movie, very human, and you can tell. I was telling you the other night, you can tell that an actor directed that film.
Absolutely.
Because it is filled with such telling little moments between the characters and the performers. It's an amazingly acted movie, above all else. Did you enjoy that too?
I did enjoy it. I think I have 2 points I want to bring up about it. But first of all, Sarah Polley and Adrienne Shelley, I think both got their directing chops. They obviously paid attention to the director they worked for in various films, Hal Hartley, and it shows. It shows, I think, actually more in the Sarah Polley film than the Adrienne Shelley film, but they both paid attention to this. Probably Hal Hartley is probably the finest director in the Cassavetes tradition that we have that's living, and they paid attention to him. But the other thing that you have to say about Away From Her is just that Sarah Polley, who was, I think, 28 or 29, that how she was able to make this movie and what drew her to it, it's astounding. It's an astoundingly beautiful movie and a very sad movie, very bleak. It's not an uplifting movie, but it's just so well done. And I think the other thing that needs to be brought out is that Julie Christie probably gives the finest performance that she's given since Dr. Zhivago. I have no problem. I mean, I love Afterglow. I even like the work she did in No Such Thing, but this is the best role that she's had since Dr. Zhivago, hands down.
See, for me, and I know it's true for Chris as well, Julie Christie's right up there for me because you can't make a more perfect movie than McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Oh, that's a great film, but I'm just going, I have to go back to the original source for me.
I'll always hold her in high reverence just based on that film.
Right. Oh, of course.
You know, it's interesting. Would you consider Lars von Trier among those Cassavetes filmmakers?
I would, except I am not a fan of the last two films, Dogville and Manderley. Everything before those films I like a lot, especially Dancer in the Dark and Breaking the Waves. But the last two films he lost me on.
Well, his whole style, it's the movement that he's kind of created. What's it called again?
Dogma 95.
Yeah, it's only natural lighting. It's handheld cameras. It's no sets. Real, everything is real right down the line.
Yeah, but it worked in those first two movies. It works like gangbusters in Breaking the Waves. Oh my God! And same with Dancer in the Dark too. But even the critics kind of abandoned him on Dogville and Manderley.
Yeah, I couldn't get into those films. I wanted to. The idea is very interesting, but the execution is just
excruciating.
Yes, and that's especially for Dogville. That's the right word to use.
Yeah, I only bring him up because I read something in the news yesterday that he's suffering from clinical depression, and he has no idea if he can make another movie because depression has crippled him so much.
Well, he doesn't need to be watching his own movies then.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's right there, like a lot of Prozac and Zoloft he's going to need then. I mean,
right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of depressing, I know Chris has seen these two movies that I just saw on DVD. I caught them last week. Little Children and The Queen. I finally got to see them on DVD. And, wow, let me tell you, Little Children is, talk about a challenging film, but just a incredibly rewarding film in terms of character and performance. And it's an amazing picture, isn't it?
It's one of the best things I saw last year, hands down.
It's one of the best things from last year, and also, it doesn't get talked about, but it's one of the funniest movies that was made last year. It seems like from the previews, like maybe it's going to be one of these movies like Magnolia that's like this really beautiful but depressing movie. It's actually not. It's totally a satire, and there's a lot of laughter in it, and I've only seen it the one time, but I get the feeling that I'll laugh even harder the second time.
I think you will. The film is nothing short. I think I would put it in, I was reading a review today, and it's one of the, I have to say, as writing a review of a film, it's the review I'm most proud of.
Really?
I identified with the movie because I didn't think I was going to like it because I was not crazy about In the Bedroom. I liked it, but I didn't think it was all that. And I went into this, and within the first 5 minutes, I was hooked. I didn't think about anything else. I was just hooked watching this film in the theater.
Talk about a great trailer. I mean, this one had an amazing trailer.
Yes.
If you remember, it's just the shots from the movie with just the sound of a speeding train going by.
Right.
And that's kind of what the movie feels like. And you're right. I read your review. It's an awesome review.
Thank you.
Basically, all of these characters have never grown up. They are all little children.
Yeah.
Hence the title. But they all find themselves stuck in a certain way of life, the accepted adult way of life. But they've never grown out of wanting more from their lives. And the movie's brave enough to explore what that means sexually, through their sexuality. Because, sexuality is very complexly wrapped into all of our adolescent fears and dreams and all of that kind of stuff. And this movie really explores that in a real way. And not an easy way.
No, not at all.
Look no further than the portrayal of the child molester in the film. You could have gone either way on that role. You could have taken it too evil or too sweet, and it finds a perfect balance where you see this man struggling with this sickness that he has, but never forget, he's got that sickness,
Right.
And the movie's very, very brutal and honest about that portrayal, and I think that was a high point of the film.
One of our friends, Jeremy the Critic, wrote a really good review, and if you haven't read it, I would suggest you go over and read his review, because he actually ties it in, and I didn't even think of this, even though I thought of the film, but he ties it into the Burt Lancaster film, The Swimmer, which I don't know if either of you have seen, but the Little Children belongs in that same category as The Swimmer.
I need to check that out. Is that
it belongs? I think it is, but it belongs in the category of The Swimmer. I think it is far superior than American Beauty. I think it goes even further than American Beauty in its depiction of suburban dysfunction, whereas I think American Beauty is more of a caricature. This actually goes really deep, like Virgin Suicide's kind of deep, and I even think even deeper than that film. I have to say, Little Children is one of the finest American-made films I've seen in probably 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, I agree.
It is pretty awesome, man. You really do feel for that Jackie Earl Haley, is that his name? Jackie
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
Yeah, that's no fluke. That performance is no fluke.
No, it's certainly not. Like, you really, I'd say even more than the other characters in the movie, like, he's one really, I don't want to say that I identified with, but that I, really kind of felt for, that it just really pulled at the heartstrings, and you're sitting there feeling that way, and then you got to remind yourself, oh, wait a minute, this guy fucks babies.
Yeah, this guy is like the scene in the swimming pool.
Right.
That's a crazy scene. I mean,
right. He's a monster.
Yeah.
So speaking of a monster, I don't know, that's a make-believe segue. What about the Queen? Chris, what did you think of The Queen?
I think, I thought it was like a TV movie, I didn't think it was bad. I didn't hate The Queen. I watched it, and I forgot about it. Frankly, I don't think Helen Mirren's performance was, anything spectacular. I definitely remember better Helen Mirren performances. I mean, there's ones that I remember. Excalibur, Mosquito Coast,
Yeah, The Long Good Friday.
Gosford Park.
Yeah, there you go.
But she seems like she's phoning it in here. I don't know. Maybe there was like a sentiment, but the relationship that the English have with the royal family, and maybe that's just kind of a sentiment that I can't relate to, and it didn't work for me. It was
it screamed boring to me. But I watched it, and maybe it works better watching it at home. It could. But, it hit a nerve with me, the relationship between the old and the new, between herself and Tony Blair, and, that Tony Blair respected her in the film, and her viewpoint, and her bravery to come out and do what she did. That got to me, and that was the dramatic pull of the movie to me. So by and large, it worked. I think it was a notch above, BBC dry drama. It kind of worked dramatically for me a little bit better than it did for you. But did you like it, Jerry?
I liked it. I see what Chris is getting at, though, but I liked it. I thought Helen Mirren was very good. But just going on, I guess, events because Tony Blair has stepped down. I don't think this is Tony Blair's the most flattering portrayal of Tony Blair I've seen in my lifetime, and I think the film should be remembered for that. I think actually the real star of the movie is Stephen Frears, who never lets us down with anything he's directed. He is a real professional, and I think under someone else's direction, this movie would have definitely felt like a movie of the week.
He's one of those guys that's always out there, and he's dependable, but
you forget about him, but he has a really solid list of movies behind him.
Yeah,
he's like those great character actors that you can't necessarily name them, but you see them and you're like, oh yeah, he's great and everything. I like him.
Yeah.
We have a caller, 914 area code 914. You are on the line.
Hey guys, it's Jeremy.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's
Jeremy,
it going?
What's up?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I just listened to what you had to say about little children. I just wanted you to say you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're impressed by it too?
He loved it. I mean, his review is outstanding of this film.
I mean, it just blew me away.
If anybody wants to read your review of it, where do they go on the net?
That would be you go to myspace.com/Jeremy826.
Okay.
And the thing is, one of the overlooked things I think about the film was the performance of Noah Emmerich.
That's true. That's very true, Jeremy.
Because, he's so subtly good that you might not notice it at first. And I think it's one of those things that you watch the film a few times and you start to pick up on. He just inhabits this guy. And, if you look at him, he's hardly even recognizable. He lost a lot of weight for the role.
Yeah, he looks bad.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
And everybody knows a guy like that, too, that, seems like he's kind of holding it together, but he's just a time bomb inside, and there's something going on with this guy. He does really play that part very well.
Yes, he does.
I mean, he's one of those character actors that, he's done good work in the past, but he's never really gotten a chance to stand out.
Yeah.
And here he really has, a three-dimensional character. And I just thought the character, it was so truthful. And in a way, it was, at the heart of the movie, that performance, I thought.
I agree with that, totally. What I liked the other thing I liked, you brought up a very good point about The Woodsman, and I thought that was good because that's another forgotten film, and unfortunately, Little Children, I have a feeling is already a forgotten film of last year.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I think that was very good to bring in The Woodsman because I would never have thought of tying the Kevin Bacon character to the child molester, and that was a really good point to bring out.
Well, I think what it comes down to is just the way now movies, I'm really pleased. Well, it's funny to use the word pleased when you're talking about a topic like this, but the way they're, presenting the issue, I mean, these people, they're not like nameless, faceless, monsters. They're real people who have a serious illness. And, the more they portray that in film, I think the closer we come to, understanding it and, eventually preventing something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks for your call, man. I appreciate you calling.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's very nice to hear your voice.
Okay, good talking to you.
Likewise.
Have a good show. Take care.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye. Number to call, 718-508-9477. Okay. We've talked about these films long enough. Let's get to the news. What do you say?
That sounds good to me.
All right. Here is our exclusive field reporter. She's actually reporting from a field. See, we're all official here. Tiffany Littleton with our news.
I'm Tiffany Littleton, and this is a Movie Geeks United news flash. Nicolas Cage is campaigning for the role of Al Capone in Brian De Palma's upcoming prequel to The Untouchables, titled Capone Rising. Cage and De Palma last teamed up in 1998 for the assassination thriller Snake Eyes. Eddie Murphy has signed on to play multiple roles in an upcoming big-screen rendition of the hit TV show Fantasy Island. According to some, the film will apparently take place in an imaginary world where Murphy still has a viable career. Matchstick Men's Sam Rockwell and Toby Jones, the star of the Truman Capote film Infamous, are two of the latest actors to sign up for Ron Howard's Frost Nixon. The film covers an interview between the renowned British newscaster and the disgraced president, and is based on a play that is currently thrilling sold-out crowds on Broadway. Frank Langella and Michael Sheen will reprise their roles as Nixon and Frost. The Media Machine is already working overtime for Michael Moore's June 29th release of Sicko, an examination of the healthcare crisis in America. The U.S. Treasury is actually investigating Moore for a segment in the film where the filmmaker takes Ground Zero site workers to Cuba for better health care. In response to the investigation, Moore claims that he hasn't broken any laws and has nothing to hide. The big green guy is back in town. No, I'm not talking about Shrek the Third. Tim Roth has joined the cast of the upcoming comic book film, The Incredible Hulk. Roth will be starring as arch-villain Abomination. He is joined by Liv Tyler and Edward Norton in the title role. The Incredible Hulk smashes its way into theaters June 13, 2008. Put it out or cut it out. In a landmark decision announced last week, the MPAA will now regulate smoking on the big screen. Under the new regulation, any portrayal of smoking on the screen, particularly when done by minors, could automatically result in a harsher R rating. For Movie Geeks United News, I'm Tiffany Littleton.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
That's great. We're so official, man. We have our own reporter reporting the news for us.
That's great. That's better than any website I know. That's awesome. I mean, I just learned everything from last week. That beats the weekly variety I get in the mail. I mean,
there you go. Thanks to Tiffany. We're all up to date here. There's a couple of very notable news stories here. And first of all, Eddie Murphy. We've teased people with our blog announcements about the show about rest in peace Eddie Murphy's career, which has upset some people. But
yes, it has.
It is true, isn't it, though? He suffers from John Travolta syndrome, where he gets a second chance and he blows it with mediocre to poor choices.
Just like John Travolta, he has this poor group of fans who love him no matter what he does, which is all the more reason to make better choices.
Yeah,
he has
I know.
This natural presence on screen that's so lovable, and he makes these shitty movies over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, look at Dreamgirls. So he got a second wind from Dreamgirls.
And he blew that pretty quickly.
Very quickly. I think he's motivated by money. And it's obvious he found a route to take there with the children's films. And so he did it over and over again until he didn't make any more money with it. And then he got a chance to do Dreamgirls, and he turned it down like 3 or 4 times, admittedly because they weren't offering any money to do it.
No money up front. It was all back-end money. Yeah.
Yeah, and now he's got the Oscar nomination. He's hot again. Norbit, I can understand. Norbit went into production long before they thought the Dreamgirls would amount to what it did.
Well, but Norbit was a hit. In his defense, I haven't seen it. Well, to me, it looks like a piece of crap, but it did make some money.
Yeah, that and Daddy Daycare was a hit too. So I mean,
Yeah, but you'd be hard-pressed to find many people that would consider that a good film.
I haven't seen any of them, and I know a lot of people, especially my brothers, are probably shocked that I have not seen these movies because I have a reputation for seeing everything ever made, but even I skipped on those, if that says anything about the quality of the film.
Actually, I don't think that's true. The people that I've talked to that saw Norbit liked it. They're the kind of people that want to see a movie like that. I don't think a lot of people went into that movie expecting something else.
No, I think Norbit's the kind of movie if you go in, like if I went in to see it and if I laughed like once or twice, I would have said, oh my God, that's better than I thought it would be.
Right. And most people that were buying tickets for Norbit, they like that kind of movie.
Yeah.
So,
well, they're going to get more of that kind of movie with Fantasy Island. This is a big groaner when I heard that it was in the planning stages. Murphy wants to play multiple characters. I'm sure he'll play the Ricardo Montalban part and the tattoo part. I guarantee it. He'll probably play a palm tree on the island, too. But this is what's discouraging. I think the man is brilliantly talented. What does he do? Is he selling? Is he one of our major sellouts?
I don't know. I think that's too... the last thing I really loved with Eddie Murphy was Coming to America. But that's just me. I thought the stuff he did with Landis, and he does not get along with Landis. Actually, Murphy has a horrible reputation in Hollywood to work with. He's impossible to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like the stuff he did, like Trading Places, Coming to America, Beverly Hills Cop, 48 Hours. To me, that's Murphy at his best.
Well, see, but that is, I agree with you completely, Jerry. He is at his best there, and he's a comedian. You have to remember, he's not De Niro. Comedy and America's taste in comedy changes drastically through the years, and it goes through these phases where we like this, we like that.
Oh, right.
So, it's not like he just hasn't found what he's good at. He kind of blended in with the family films there for a little while. Seemed like maybe that's what he was going to do. He was the voice in Mulan. He's the voice of the donkey in Shrek. He's
good as the donkey in Shrek. I got to hand him that he's good in those films.
Right. So now I think his career needs a third act, and it needs to be. I don't think it's Fantasy Island.
No, I don't see it.
Yeah, the platform for that third act was Dreamgirls, and I think he's failed to capitalize on it.
Well, let's see what happens with the other films. I mean, don't write them off. Whenever I'm sure people wrote off, and I know people wrote off Travolta, and he came back. He keeps coming back.
Yeah. Well, I'm not writing Eddie Murphy off. The scene in 48 Hours in the Cowboy Bar is one of the few scenes in movies that I've seen more than 15 times. It still makes me laugh out loud every time I see it.
Right.
I'm not writing him off either. Like I said, I think he's a genius. It's just he's not choosy enough with the material.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Travolta's less, obviously less brilliant and genius than Eddie Murphy, but he has the same problem where he'll make a really smart move and then he'll retreat back into just total and complete crap. I mean that they might be successful, but as an artist, there's no challenge there. He does something with Tarantino, and you're excited about Travolta.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to being just like every other schmo. I really, that's.
No, you're right. You're right.
I can see what you mean. I don't necessarily agree with that. Now, I mean, Travolta is, now you could consider him, maybe not artistically, but, as far as box office goes, he's in a good place right now because he just did Wild Hogs. And, I didn't see Wild Hogs. I'm probably not going to see Wild Hogs, not my kind of movie. But since I do like Travolta, I'm kind of happy for him. And he knows it's not it's not Pulp Fiction, but, he had a hit, so
it gives him leverage to do something better maybe next time.
Exactly. I think he should play. I think he should play Capone in the next De Palma film.
Well, can we talk about that?
That would be interesting.
I think the prequel to The Untouchables is one of the worst ideas I've heard in a long time. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say Brian De Palma is probably one of our finest directors. A lot of people probably right now have just clicked off their computer, thrown out. But I think he really is one of our finest living directors. And I'm not just saying that because we're both sons of physicians and great physicians at that, but I'm saying that because I think here's a guy who made some of the most gonzo films early in his career, Hi Mom, Greetings, and then went on to make some really, I think, some of the best films of the 70s, Blowout, Obsession, and Carrie. And he actually made a great comeback film a couple of years ago called Femme Fatale. It's no one would call it a great film, but it is a great De Palma film. And what I mean by that is he pays homage to the two directors he loves the most, Hitchcock and himself. And, you know, I think the idea of a prequel to The Untouchables is just bad. It's unoriginal. It makes no sense.
Well, if you call it a prequel to The Untouchables, yeah, I agree with you, because that's a movie that I have a lot of love for.
Oh, I love that movie.
But the story of the rising of Al Capone, obviously it's not going to have, you know, Elliot Ness in it. It's not going to have the Malone character or the Andy
Well, it does
Garcia
have the Malone character. It has the Malone character and how Malone kind of came their relationship when Capone was on the rise.
We'll see. Then
yeah, I don't see that working.
Then. Yeah, I got to go with Jerry. Then that's, you know, you're pushing too hard for the sequel territory. Because then you got two. You got to worry about, you know, Al Capone character. Then you got to worry about someone to step into Sean Connery's shoes too. And I'm not the biggest Sean Connery fan, but as far as memorable Sean Connery roles, Malone is top 3. You know, along with Bond and maybe Dr. Henry Jones.
Right.
Oh, it's going to be Ewan McGregor. You
know
right.
That. I want to end this thing before I just really destroy our subscriber base. But I think what De Palma needs to do is he needs to return. And look, The Black Dahlia was one of the most heartbreaking experiences to watch on film.
Oh,
yep.
yeah.
I wanted to love this movie. I wanted to worship this movie. I wanted to own every version of this. I was willing to buy the Betamax and the 1-inch version of this film before I even saw it. And I was so disappointed in it, but there are moments of genius in the film, and there are still moments of genius in Mr. De Palma's life. This is a guy, I think, who has not yet made his masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I think
Possibly. But you need to understand, too, we're all in agreement, the three of us, that De Palma is one of our top directors. Just based on a purely visual standpoint, he can't be beat. But from the start, he's worked in a disreputable genre. You know, that's how he made his name.
Right.
I think that he faced a lot of underappreciation early on in his career, and it's followed him because of the genre he chooses to work most in.
Right. No, you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and
I don't think I gotta say I don't think he gets enough credit for being able to helm a big and intellectual and successful movie. Like, he's done it 2 times that I can think of. Like Untouchables, you know, it's a movie that appeals to a lot of people, but it's also a very smart movie. Now that has a lot to do with, you know, David Mamet's script.
Right.
But he did it again, in my opinion, as far as action movies go, with the original Mission Impossible, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I personally think is one of the few examples of a really intelligent and consistently watchable action movie. And he kind of disappears into that movie, and then he brings out the De Palma moments, too.
Oh, yes, he does.
Blends it perfectly.
From the very beginning, from the opening credit sequence of the first Mission Impossible, he is the perfect director for that movie.
Yes, he is, and as a reason, actually, the 2 films you bring up, Chris, are very important, because at the heart of, and to be actually very serious about De Palma, and it's very important to realize the relationship with his father, Dr. De Palma, when he touches on the father-son aspect, those are his strongest films. In The Untouchables, you have the father-son dynamic between Costner's Ness and Malone, who is the good father, and the bad father, who is Al Capone. And there's that strong dynamic there. In Mission Impossible, you kind of have it there between Tom Cruise and Jon Voight.
Oh, pretty strong. I never thought about it before.
Yeah, but that's where because that is at the crux of De Palma's films, and no more so than Raising Cain.
Oh.
Raising Cain is the quintessential De Palma film.
Yeah, it's a great movie, and it's one of those movies that it doesn't work on every level, but if you love De Palma, you can watch it, and you can
over and over again.
Yeah, you can recognize those De Palma moments. We got someone dialing in here.
I know. I don't know what that is. If it's in my house, get off the phone.
That's we're going to add a little techno music, and it's all going to be dial tones and keytones.
I don't know who that is, but they got to stop it.
But, Raising Cain, it's got that excellent, even if you don't like the movie, you got to admit that it's got one of those De Palma sequences in it. That's what if you do love De Palma, you can always just watch this movie and look forward to one of those De Palma sequences. So one of the true, even if it's not the best movie, it has a thrilling sequence in it like that one.
The Black Dahlia even has that towards the end. It actually has a medley of De Palma sequences in the last 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it gets close. That one, I'm with you. I was really looking forward to that one, and I know what you mean. The end of the movie, it did have it, but at that point I was so disappointed because it was just so perfect for him. It was I was waiting for him to knock it out of the park, and he just didn't.
It never happens.
It was so disappointing. But, what we're talking about Untouchables and Mission Impossible, these big, successful movies that appeal to mass audiences, I think you've got a really good point. And, Mission Impossible, that was only, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think he could have a true masterpiece in him, and I think he could still do it. So I hope he does.
I hope so, too.
And let's see.
Is Jamie still with us?
No, it doesn't sound like he is.
Okay, so we're in charge of the show right now. Okay, I think that's what... Oh, my God. Hopefully he's not hung up.
That's no problem.
Okay.
Now let's move on then and talk about The Incredible Hulk.
I don't know what to make of that.
I mean, the whole idea, isn't it a little strange? A movie is unsuccessful. The public basically says, we don't want to see this. And even the people that did see it, didn't really like it. It didn't get good reviews. So the whole thing is perplexing from the beginning. But then you revive it, you bring it back, and you have a major star, Edward Norton, sign on for the lead role.
Right.
A good actress sign on for the love interest, Liv Tyler, and then you get a major heavy, a dependable heavy.
One of the most major ones, Tim Roth. You couldn't ask for better.
Right. Hey guys, are you there?
Yeah. Are you all right, man?
I got disconnected. I guess it's the freaky weather here. So
okay. We're talking about the Hulk. We're talking about the Hulk.
Yes. Okay. Have we talked about? Are we liking the casting so far in the Hulk?
The casting is the only thing we like.
Yeah.
No one understands, and I don't think this is just among the three of us. I think a lot of people, insiders in Hollywood too, are saying what's going on here? Why would you do that? It's kind of like making Ishtar 2 or something like that.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. There are parts, as I think about it, and I wrote a blog about this earlier in the year. The Hulk has some things I like about it, but not on an obvious surface. No, I do think it may be too smart in one sense for its own good. I think because of Ang Lee's direction, I think he does, in one sense, he does a really good job with it, but he doesn't. It's not really a comic book film in that sense. I think it has some good points, but it also has a lot of bad points to it, too. I think in the end it's just a huge remake of a Toho monster movie.
Yeah, it is. And I should say that I feel the same way as you. I kind of like the movie. I don't think it's so bad, but you're right. It doesn't have that comic book elation that it needs to have, that Spider-Man has, that X-Men has. It doesn't have that just escapist quality until, unfortunately, the last 30 minutes.
With Nick Nolte reprising his Malibu drunk in face.
Right. Well, Jamie and I both think that is some brilliant casting. Who else are you going to get to play the Hulk's father?
It's got to be Nolte, and no one else.
I want to get to have enough time to get to a few of the summer movies we haven't been able to talk about yet.
Okay, that
and
sounds
also
good.
To announce some future plans we have. But I promised everyone out there that we would reveal a big secret about Michael Bay.
So, shit.
I don't want to disappoint.
Michael Bay?
Yeah.
Michael Bay blew up the birdhouse next to us just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, he's getting ready. He's getting his game on for this.
He was the one dialing the phone a little while ago.
Yeah, I know.
It's the one that disconnected me. Okay. Every week we send out letters through publicists to retain certain guests for the show. And we've got a lot of great leads, and we got a lot of great future announcements coming up, I'm sure, concerning that. But that's how I found myself on Michael Bay's homepage.
Yeah, make up whatever excuse you want, Jamie. Yeah.
Yes. So I go to the frequently asked questions on his page, and one of the questions is it true that Michael's biological father is a Hollywood director, and who is it? And the answer that I guess the webmaster wrote, he said, while this issue is none of our business, I'll answer this question in Michael's own words. And Michael said, you could probably hurt a lot of people by saying who my father is. And so, our crack research team, we started digging in, and we found out in a 2001 issue of Movie Line, which, remember that magazine? That was a great movie magazine.
It was a good magazine.
It was a good magazine.
Yeah, it was revealed that Michael Bay's father, I wish I had a timpani here, is actually John Frankenheimer.
Dude,
John Frankenheimer, who always denied paternity, actually took a DNA test in the 80s, which came back negative. But Michael Bay still maintains that Frankenheimer is his father, and he's countered that the DNA work back in the 80s was a lot less sophisticated than it is now. Now, this is all a moot point now. Frankenheimer actually has passed away.
Yes.
But I find this interesting that one of our most, kind of spat-upon directors, Michael Bay, is actually from one of our most revered directors. The apple fell really far from the tree.
Fell far from the tree? It went down the toilet.
It's almost like, if Orson Welles were Ed Wood's father.
I could buy that a lot more easily, actually. I don't want to, I know a lot of people like to pick on Michael Bay, but he does his thing, his shtick very well. He blows up things, whether it's Bad Boys or The Rock, which I'm pointing to, I think, the better examples in his career. And I guess my question about the Transformers is, where's the GoBots movie? When's that coming? But
it's coming, man.
Why, do you have money invested in that? And where can I get in on that?
No, if Transformers is a big success, I'm sure you're going to see everything from GoBots to the Smurfs, That
He-Man picture will finally get off the ground.
No, but that already did. Remember the Dolph Lundgren thing?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, John Woo was trying to revive it, as recently as like 6 months ago.
That's what he needs after Wind Talkers and Paycheck. That he needs that like he needs, have his Achilles heel like blown.
What I thought was really funny about John Woo is, remember at a time when he was set on making a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles feature film?
Yes.
Which made perfect sense to me because he shoots so much in slow motion already. So
don't make fun of Mr. Woo. I have a very soft spot in my heart for Mr. Woo.
Oh, well.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to tickle that soft
spot. That's all right. That's okay. I'll let it slide.
Isn't Woo, though, like basically like the Hong Kong Michael Bay? I mean, or you could say, actually, I'm sorry, that Michael Bay is the American John Woo.
Well, I would say that, but then you watch movies like Hard Boiled, Bolt in the Head, The Killer, and The Better Tomorrow, 1 and 2.
They are a cut above, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, I don't know, it's just, we're talking, I mean, this conversation has been repeated on many websites. I don't know, I can't add anything to it.
Well, I'm like you. Here's what I'll say. I'm not nuts about Michael Bay's movie, but I find it hard to bash him because, like you say, a lot of those movies are successful. So, but there's a desire out there among people to see those big, dumb summer movies.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them. I'm not nuts about them, but that desire is out there. It's kind of like, beating the shit out of a prostitute that lets men pee on her. Well, guess what? There's men out there that want to be peed on, So that's what Michael Bay is to me. He's kind of like a prostitute. But,
okay,
that's very well spoken.
Yeah, I think we can go to summer movies now.
Yes, right to summer movies. Chris, actually, one of the movies that you said that you're most looking forward to this summer, there is a big one you're looking forward to, and that's Ocean's 13.
Yeah.
And that opens up June, 8th? That opens up?
I'll be there.
All right.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an extremely fun, entertaining ride of a movie, and nice additions to the cast, and everybody's back together again. I think this is going to be a big one. A lot of positive buzz on this movie. You guys think it'll be a big film?
I hope it is. I mean, it's everything I could want in a summer movie. It's got the dream cast, the most voyeuristic films of the last couple of years. Who doesn't want to hang out with these guys? They make it so much fun. I mean.
Right, we're talking about two movies that are consistently entertaining. That it's just like, for me, like Shrek 3. I can't say that I don't really want to see Shrek 3 because the first two, they were pretty funny. So it's not like another movie that the previous ones I'm not nuts about. Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, they're both really good.
I love them.
If you got the same cast, you got the same director, you got a solid writer, make it as far as I'm concerned. I'm really excited.
How do we fall on the Die Hard films? And how excited are we about this upcoming one?
You have no idea how excited I am.
Yeah?
Dude, you can't tell you now. A lot of people think, why is he excited for Die Hard? Let me tell you this. John McClane in a post-9/11 environment, we need it very badly. All right, I'm sorry.
I think that's a good matchup if it tackles it from that point of view. Apparently this one has a lot to do with technology. The villain is kind of a techie villain.
Yeah, he's not he's not Jeremy Irons, he's not Alan Rickman, but here's how I look at it. And David Anson in Newsweek, I guess for the review of Die Hard 2, he summed up the Die Hard films perfectly. He said, John McClane is the blue-collar James Bond.
Yeah,
and that's what it is. We like this guy. We like when Willis wears this hat. We really do.
Well, speaking of Willis wearing a hat,
oh shit!
When I first saw the trailer, it turned me off his bald head. I thought that's, and I don't know why, because I've seen that Bruce Willis in all the other non-Die Hard movies.
I got to agree with you, Jamie. I didn't really understand what you were talking about at first till I saw the preview, and I think you're right. Like, that bald Bruce Willis doesn't feel like John McClane, but hopefully the movie will get around that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll have some explanation for
maybe it's Ashton Kutcher. You don't know. I mean,
But maybe that's why he lost his hair?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about those pictures in Vanity Fair last night. Very disturbing photos. Very disturbing.
That's true. Like Bruce out fishing on the boat with Demi and Ashton.
Yeah,
hugging each other. It's a strong man right there.
Or a drunk man.
But I think we all believe in Bruce Willis, and we have no reason to kind of doubt that this Die Hard will deliver, because I think out of all of them, 2 is the one that probably didn't deliver the least for us. But at the same time, I think the first Die Hard and the third Die Hard surprisingly strong.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think it's a killer, bruised forearm, as Roger Ebert puts it, action movie.
Yeah, very much so.
Also, Bruce Willis in his career doesn't have a tendency to make several stinkers in a row. He has a pretty good record of, he's made some bad movies.
He has made some bad movies. He did make it in the early part of the century, if we can say that. I thought some of the movies he made were not great, but he made it up with his turn, actually, in Ocean's 12.
Yeah.
Is the comeback. That's one of the greatest parts of that movie is when they break the fourth wall with the Julia Roberts thing. It's hysterical, and he's great in that.
I thought he was pretty good in Hostage, too. But
that's not. I just couldn't get into it. I was disappointed, but that's just me.
That's a good kind of standard fare action movie. That's better than average. It's better than a Mercury Rising or something.
Oh yeah, well anything's better than that. I'll give you that, Chris. That you win that one right there based on that analysis.
But he did have Tears of the Sun, which was almost unwatchable. And then Perfect Stranger recently.
Oh, that was wretched.
Well, yeah. So I'm
but not because of him, though. I'm not gonna.
But he's also a great actor. I mean, look no further than In Country, his performance.
Or 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys.
And Pulp Fiction.
Great example.
Pulp Fiction. In Country's great. Nobody's Fool.
Right.
I even like what's the one that he made with James Gardner. Oh, he made one with James Gardner, like right after, not Blind Date, but the one after that.
Sunset? The Blake Edwards movie Sunset?
Yeah, I like that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay, well, let's go to the next one. Speaking of great actors, Angelina Jolie, during the summer months, she's coming out with a movie that might actually, I smell Oscar on, and that's A Mighty Heart, where she plays the real-life widow of Daniel Pearl, the journalist that was assassinated overseas in Pakistan. A very timely story.
Mm-hmm.
A director in Michael Winterbottom that makes very intimate films. Sometimes very painfully intimate.
Yes.
I think this could be a powerful movie. I get good vibes on it. How about you guys?
I have to say, I think that she's right for the part. The one thing I like about Miss Jolie, and I know a lot of people aren't crazy about her, and I got to be honest, I didn't warm up to her as an actress until Sky Captain, because I always looked at her as sort of the Anna Kournikova of acting, is that she was more famous for her. She's a very attractive woman, but she never really found the roles. Even the one Beyond Borders, which actually fits into her real life, is not a great film. But I think that, she puts her money where her mouth is. She does all this great goodwill work for the UN, and I think this is the first role that she's going to have that is actually, I think she's right for the part. I won't lie to you. I think she's the right woman to play this part.
Yeah. I think this is a good time for this film to come out for her personally, too, to kind of remind people that she is a great talent. The Entertainment Weekly article said that, we've kind of let that fall by the wayside since Girl Interrupted.
True.
And this movie presents an opportunity for her to show that side of her again. Evan Almighty comes out June 22nd. By all accounts, the most expensive comedy film ever made, one of the most expensive films, period, ever made. But from test audience reviews that I've read, a very, warm-hearted, touching, funny family film. I think this is going to be another major release during the summer.
I think so. I don't know much about it from what you just said. I know it's very expensive, but I know nothing about it, though.
Well, the preview is, it's one of those previews that feels like it's going to be the biggest comedy of the summer. It's a very funny preview.
Yeah.
And Steve Carell, obviously really hot right now still. He's had several hits under his belt. It's a sequel, which people like. It's a sequel of sorts.
And it could be better than the original.
It very well could be. I don't think the original is the funniest movie ever made, but I like Jim Carrey. I thought I enjoyed myself at it. And I think it has the potential, and actually I would go on record predicting it as the biggest comedy of the summer.
I think that's
outside of Shrek 3, that is.
I would say between that and Knocked Up, yeah.
Yeah, Knocked Up I personally want to see, and I feel like it's going to be a really funny movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's got the potential to be, the blockbuster potential. Evan Almighty.
Oh, yeah, that does.
Yeah, they're vying for a different audience. Evan Almighty is something you could take all your kids to.
Right.
Yeah. And it still doesn't insult the intelligence of the adults, is what I'm getting from it.
Right.
Sicko also comes out in June. We had a little news scoop on Michael Moore earlier. The publicity machine is really starting to churn for this thing. It's not a Michael Moore movie unless you smell trouble. And this would work at overtime on that. Premieres at Cannes Film Festival. What is it? This month? Later on?
Yeah, it should be any day now. Actually, we're getting there.
So we should hear some early word on it after that premiere. But what do you guys think of the promise of this one?
It should be. It's going to be provocative. It's going to be controversial. But except for this thing about him, the trouble he got in with the flying the workers down to Cuba, I've heard nothing about this film. It's been very guarded. It seems like.
Right.
It is very
Chris
guarded.
and I were discussing this the other night, and Chris, you can chime in on this. Healthcare issue is very important, and it's very kind of complex, and it needs to be seriously handled where we can see all sides fairly. Michael Moore, to that end, is not really the correct director to bring that to us, is he?
No, he's not. It would be like, just like Inconvenient Truth was the kind of movie that is perfect for getting the message of global warming out there, and it's the kind of movie that, you could show in a school if, of course, no one had a problem with it. It's very even-handed. It presents the facts. It serves the purpose of getting the information out there, and we need a movie about healthcare like that. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. Michael Moore is not the guy to make that, just like he was not the guy to make Inconvenient Truth. So I'm worried. That's not to say I don't like his movies. I do.
But a well-balanced one. That's not the film.
Right.
Right.
I think there needs to be a good documentary about the war in Iraq and the post 9/11 environment, because I don't think that Fahrenheit 9/11 is that movie. While it is an entertaining movie, it could be done better.
Yeah. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Do you think that one's going to be pretty lost amongst all these potential blockbusters out there?
I do. Yeah,
I think it will. I mean, I gotta say, it looks like fun, and it looks obviously it could be better. I think this is the thing everyone is hoping for on this, and I know Fox is, that it's going to be like Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, that it will be so much better than the original film, which was not very good. But I don't get that vibe so far.
Early reviews, test audiences, I read some bad stuff. I read some stuff on Ain't It Cool, people just not enjoying it.
It ain't Wrath of Khan, then, I take it.
Well, not every
few are.
Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
This is one that intrigues me, and it could play as unintentionally funny, or it could be very interesting, and that is the June 1st release of Mr. Brooks.
Dude, that's going to be the best movie of the year. This is Kevin Costner's turn to do what Henry Fonda did so well in Once Upon a Time in the West, and Gregory Peck did in Boys from Brazil. This is his turn to play against type. Now, having said that, I'm full of shit. I don't think it's going to work.
I'm with you, Jerry. I actually think that the preview is effective, and I really want it to work because I like Kevin Costner, I like William Hurt, and Dane Cook. You know, they got this, like,
what's
hot
Dane Cook?
Hot comic. I mean hot as in perception-wise.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to him.
What part
which
does
I
he play?
I have a feeling like I just can't see it working. I wish it would.
Yeah.
The one glimmer of hope that I get from it is that William Hurt is in it.
Right.
William Hurt plays his kind of evil alter ego that urges him to kill.
Right.
That's like kind of irresistible to me.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Can he strike gold? He kind of did that in History of Violence, though. Can he strike gold with that twice?
I think so.
You think?
Yeah, I do. I actually do think. I think Jamie's right. It is William Hurt's movie.
Everybody knows that William Hurt has the potential to go on a tear with several consistently good performances. He sure did it in the 80s. I hope he does it again.
Yeah.
Finishing off June, we have the sequel to Hostel, Eli Roth's next edition of the Hostel film saga. And did the other Hostel come out during the summer months? Is this odd for...
No, they came out in January. It's actually the first release of 2006.
It was competing with Munich at the time.
I
remember I went and saw Munich, and everybody else went and saw Hostel.
I think it has potential.
I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to make some money.
Yeah, I think it has a lot. I like Eli Roth. I'm not afraid to admit that. This is a very lucky filmmaker. His first film, Cabin Fever, got a wide release, and I like him. I like where he's coming from.
I like him too, Jerry. I mean, the first Hostel, some people don't have the stomach for it, and you can call it, splat pack, and you can call it immature, but it is a visceral experience watching that movie. I mean, it's gut-twisting.
Oh, it is. Dude, it's totally gut-twisting.
Literally gut-twisting. Yeah.
Okay, we have a minute to go. If you were to choose, we're going to tackle July and August in future episodes. But if you were to choose between John McClane or Michael Myers, which one are you more excited about returning to the big screen?
John McClane.
John McClane.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let me wish my...
I don't think I believe you, actually, but okay.
I don't believe you at all, but let me just say, shout out, I want to wish my dad a happy birthday real quick.
Oh,
happy
great.
Birthday, Pop.
And happy Mother's Day to
yes, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all of our mothers. We have very exciting shows coming up for you, including, and let us know what you think of this idea. We're thinking of having a show dedicated to the Big Lebowski in our near future, and I think that that'll be a lot of fun. We also have ideas for Director's Series where we tackle a different director every week. If there's anything that you would like us to talk about, just drop us an email at moviegeeksunited@yahoo.com, and we'll get it on the air for you.
Or call in.
Yeah, call in.
Absolutely, call in. And guys, thank you so much for another great show. Sorry, my
thank you.
Out.
It was fun.
And, special thanks to Dave Stimson of Bit by Bit Studios for engineering the show. You can find his recording studio in Winter Haven and Lakeland, Florida. And, of course, Tiffany Littleton for doing our opening announcement and our newscast. It was an excellent performance there from her. But thanks, guys, so much. And,
thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, everyone have a great week. Thank you.
Take it easy, guys.